Hola amigos, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Emma Bennet. I'm a UK-based writer of contemporary and now Regency romance and the occasional children's picture book. And I'm also a very keen reader, and every month on my channel I like to share what I have been reading. So let's get into what I read in July 2023. So unusually I read a few ebooks this month, so I'm going to start with those because otherwise I'll probably forget to mention them. And these ebooks were by friends of mine. So two of them were by my lovely friend Estelle van der Velde. She is a Belgium-based author. She writes in English, and first of all I read her book The Londoners. I will make sure that I link to her YouTube channel and to her books down in the description below, by the way. So The Londoners is it's kind of part memoir, part travel guide. She tells us all about her stay in London, where she moved for some time with her husband. And when she actually moved to London, her English really wasn't very good at all. And I just thought that that was so amazing and so fantastic that she moved to this country where she wasn't proficient in the language, and she just went and learned how to speak English. I mean, I can barely string a sentence together some days in English, so I just think that's absolutely amazing. And so yeah, I really love the kind of memoir side of it and hearing all about her experiences. But what was lovely as well is that the kind of guide part of it and the things that she suggests are a little bit out of the ordinary. They're not generally what you see in all the guides to London. So as someone who grew up in London, I just really enjoyed reading this book and discovering a few things about the city that I lived in for 23 years that I actually didn't know. The other book that I read by Estelle is her latest book, and it's called SEO for Authors. I was lucky enough to be part of the launch team for this book, and she sent me an e-copy to read, and then I was also on her YouTube channel when she had her launch party, which was really great fun. So I'm not very good at marketing and SEO and things like that, and it's all a little bit of a mystery to me. But what I really loved about Estelle's book is that it does demystify a lot of the terms and the complexities of SEO. It's very much written in layman's terms, and just the way that she writes, it's very easy to read. It flows very well, and she's an exceptional teacher. She's very good at explaining these terms which have eluded me for years. So that was probably the most useful thing that I read this month. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Really love that. The other ebook that I read this month was by my friend R.C. Scott. He is the dark to my light, and I've been really wanting to read some of his stuff. He writes horror, which I'm generally not that much of a fan of, but I am a fan of R.C. So I tried out his double feature book, which contains, I have to check what the stories are called, but it contains two stories called Lake Eliza and Morning Drive, and I really enjoyed them. They weren't too kind of making me jump or anything like that, but they did really make you think. And as an author, he just has some fantastic turns of phrase. I loved his characterization, and I would definitely be reading more of his stuff. So that is the ebooks. Now, on to the physical books. So for Camp Nano in July, in case you didn't know, I was writing my first Regency romance. Well, I actually wrote the first 30,016 words of a Regency romance. I will be getting back to it soon. So I have been reading a lot of Regency romances to kind of get into the feel of the period and that kind of style of writing. So the first one that I read this month was How Not to Chaperone a Lady by Virginia Heath. If you have been around my channel for a little while, you know I am a huge fan of Virginia Heath's writing, and I was actually able to interview her a little while ago, so I will make sure that I pop that link down in the description box as well, because she's a wealth of knowledge about Regency stuff, and it was absolutely fantastic to be able to pick her brains about it. So what I wanted to say about this and what I really loved about it was that the heroine was very different. She wasn't kind of a lady who went and sat around the drawing room sewing for hours on end and then went to play on the piano and sigh wistfully about the Duke that she was desperately in love with. Her name is Charity Brooks, and she is an opera singer. I don't think that I've ever read a book set in the Regency period before where the heroine actually has a profession. Actually, no, I can think of one other that I did, and that was a Virginia Heath one, actually. That was a Virginia Heath one that I read last month. But anyway, I found it really, really interesting because obviously there were women who had professions, even those who were in quite the upper classes, but it really wasn't usual. So that was just, yeah, really, really cool. I enjoyed that. Then I read quite a bit of Julia Quinn. So I reread Bridgerton, so The Duke and I, and then the second book in the series, The Viscount Who Loved Me. I'm a big fan of these books. I think Julia Quinn does a really, really great job with these. Obviously, they are hugely popular, as is the Netflix series based on them. Highly recommended. And then I read this one, which is also Julia Quinn, What Happens in London. This was really cool and very different. So the hero in it is like a spy working for the British government, and he speaks fluent Russian. So he's being used to kind of spy on this Russian prince who's staying in the UK and shows an interest in the woman that it turns out that our spy is rapidly falling in love with. So yeah, this was very different and very cool. I really like that. Then very traditional Regency period, Jane Austen, Sense and Sensibility. So I went to an open air production of an adaptation of this book, and it prompted me to want to read the story again. I do know the story very, very well. I've read it a few times. I've watched the lovely film with Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet and Hugh Grant and Alan Rickman, and that's brilliant as well. I just fancied rereading it. It's not my favourite Jane Austen. I find Marianne just drives me completely up the wall. I can't with Marianne. But I really, really enjoyed reading it again. Obviously, Jane Austen she's just amazing. Her wit is just, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Her observations about society, yeah, loved it, and really great to reread it. And then the last two reads for this month were non-fiction, kind of writing craft books. So we have You Must Market Your Book by Honoré Cordor and You Must Write a Book. Now, I was only actually supposed to read this one, You Must Market Your Book. So I read this book because Shannon S.D. Houston had an idea for a few of us on AuthorTube to do a collaboration where we all read this book and we did a review on it. So I did that, Shannon, Margaret Pennard and Andy from Self Pub with Andy, and then we all put out videos at the same time. So that was really, really cool. I learned quite a bit from this, but I will link the videos down below so that you can check out my full thoughts. I think she does have very, very good systems in place, but I think a lot of those systems really only work for non-fiction writers, and in particular non-fiction writers who write non-fiction that is similar to what she does. So some of it wasn't relevant, but there was plenty that was, and there's only a small read, it's fine. However, when we were organising this collaboration, me being me, went and picked up the wrong book, You Must Write a Book. And I was before I realised, I was 3/4 of the way through it. So I was I may as well finish it because it was quite interesting, although not completely relevant to me. No, well, kind of, yeah. So basically, this book is... it's saying you must write a book. So if you are an expert in something, then she suggests that you write a book about that because it makes you seem more professional, basically. That's the whole premise of the thing. So it's really kind of, you can imagine it really appealing to people like kind of estate agents, maybe like business people, things like that. Obviously it's worked for her because she's like an author coach, and that is what she does. But I'm not sure that this would be very relevant to many fiction authors, because like obviously they already have written their book or are writing their book. But for people perhaps thinking about non-fiction and wondering if it's right for them, then, you know, it could be cool. Yeah, so there we go. There was a lot of Regency in there, wasn't there? Next month, there is definitely going to be less Regency. I have been so enjoying really immersing myself in that period, but at the same time, I'm wanting to read some different stuff. Like, if you've been watching these videos before, you know that my reading is usually quite eclectic. I really like to mix it up. So reading so many books from the same genre, at this point, I'm kind of like, yeah, all right, I need a break. So at the moment, I'm in the middle of Happy Place by Emily Henry, which I am really, really enjoying. But it is my birthday in the middle of the month, and I am going to get lots of good books. Or I better get a lot of good books. I mean, I have been quite clear in my requests for the books that I want. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I'm sure that I will do a birthday book haul to share with you guys. I think that could be quite fun. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this video. I do hope that you've enjoyed it, and maybe I've given you some ideas of things that you can read. If you have enjoyed it, please remember to boop that like button and subscribe if you're not already, because we have so much fun over here, and I will catch you in the next one.